The devil whispered, "You're not strong enough to withstand the storm." And I whispered back, "I am the storm." This is warm but wild, because cancer doesn't tame the wild in you, it just proves it's there. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be starting this podcast and to be reaching out to as many people as I can to raise awareness about cancer, to share my story, to hear others' stories, and to throw support, especially to the ones who don't realize there's so much support out there as I didn't in the beginning. I do have to disclose a quick disclaimer. Gotta read the fine print. I'm not a doctor. I don't hold any degrees. Anything that I say is either completely from personal experience or personal opinion, or I'm sharing it for somebody whom I have permission from. One other disclaimer. I will do my best not to curse too much, and I will never drop the F-bomb or the C word, but we're gonna get real. If anything is not safe for work, I will try to let you know before the episode or in the description or before the subject comes up. A little bit of backstory about my life before cancer, because we all know that life doesn't start with cancer. I grew up, born and raised in Northeast Ohio. I did live in the same house from the time that I was 5 years old until I was 18. I was very blessed. My life was not ever perfect, as I don't think anyone's is. When I turned 18, I was crazy, just like everybody else. And so, of course, the moment my best friend said, "Hey, you should go to Arizona with me," I said, "When are we leaving?" And 2 days later, we were in a U-Haul and we were out. 3 days after that, which is how long it took to get down there, through hysteria from 5-hour energy drinks and driving through the nights, we finally got there, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Middle of March, or beginning of March, 80 degrees outside. Perfect. We were there for about a week, and I got hired into a company called Blue Beacon Truck Wash. Amazing company, amazing company. They have great people. I always loved working there. I am a little biased. That is where I met my husband, Terry. He was my operations manager at the time, and I could not get over the calmness and patience and sureness that he brought to me. And as they say, the rest is history. We've been together ever since. That was in 2010. Terry, when we met, had 3 older kids already. They were 12, 11, and 8. So at 18 years old, I went from being a single wild woman to being a mother of 2 teenage girls and a little boy overnight, which, as you can imagine, was tons of fun and chaos. Always chaos. But it was fantastic. It was beautiful and unexpected and constant. We always wanted to have a baby. I wanted to have a baby my entire life. I could not wait to be a mother. That's all I wanted to do, was be a mother. Unfortunately, we were not able to. My sister-in-law and best friend, Sheldon, also very much so wanted us to have a baby. Very, very much so. She had children of her own. She was an amazing mother. And she could not wait for us to have a baby. We looked into a lot of different ways of having that come about. Unfortunately, it just was not in the cards for us at the time. In 2017, um, Sheldon gave birth to another beautiful baby boy. And unfortunately, about a week later, she suffered a pulmonary embolism and ended up in the hospital with no brain activity detected. While we were in the hospital that first day, we found out our daughter, who is now 7, Briella Rose, was on her way. She is adopted. I knew right then that God and Sheldon had their hands on that little girl. And so, with Sheldon in the hospital and suddenly a baby on the way, things got even more hectic than they already were. At this point, we already had 3 grandkids, or 2 grandkids and 1 on the way. So that was fun too. I just loved hanging out with the grandkids, having them over the house. There is something about a baby and a toddler and a child and their innocence and their love for everybody, no matter what. Their non-judgment and their blunt truths that just pulls my heart towards children every time. So in February, our 3rd grandchild, our grandson, Elias, was born. In May 10th, 2018, Briella came into this world, and she was perfect. I was taken with her from the moment they laid her on my chest. Bringing her home was an amazing experience. The hospital that we were at in Arizona that she was born at, they were so helpful. They sent us home with Briella's first baby book and first baby blanket and first stuffed animal. And they sent us home with this big dinner spread. And all I had to do was throw it in the oven. And y'all know what that means. That is the best right there. An amazing home cooked meal that's chilled, and all I have to do is toss it in the oven and cuddle with my brand new baby. So everything at that time was going well as far as Briella was concerned. Unfortunately, Sheldon had passed a couple of days after she had her pulmonary embolism. That was a very, very difficult time. It was a lot of mixed emotions. Losing my best friend, gaining a daughter. It was bittersweet, and honestly, I had no idea how to feel at the time. But I knew that Briella is what Sheldon wanted for us. So I carried on with that thought in my head. And that first week was amazing. Having the newborn baby, and I know the waking up in the middle of the night, the exhaustion, and the constant coffee. I get it. But I had waited so long for her, and I was so excited for her that I didn't even mind. I really didn't. I was just waking up in the middle of the night while exhausted, tired, and in need of some good dreams. I still woke up happy because I was waking up remembering that I was waking up because I had the baby I always wanted. So that was a fantastic time. When Briella was exactly a week old, so May 17th, 2018, I was standing in the doorway of our duplex with Terry sitting by me on the couch. And I leaned my left hand over to scratch the side boob. I know, the side boob. But as I did, I felt something. Now, I had known most of my life that this day may come. My great-grandmother had breast cancer. My grandmother had breast cancer. My mother had breast cancer. 2 of my aunts had breast cancer. 1 of my aunts had ovarian cancer. All on my mother's side. So it was called the family curse. And I knew that chances are my day would come. But I did not expect them at 27 years old with a week-old baby laying in her swing, smiling at me. I felt the lump, and I remember just freezing. I just froze for a second. And I felt it. I felt around it. I tried to feel the shape. I thought maybe it was something other than what I thought it was. I turned to Terry and I said, "Feel this. What is that?" And when he felt it, he just looked up and locked eyes with me. And I knew, because my patient, realistic, will cross that bridge when we get there, husband had a look on his face that probably looked very similar to the look on my face when I felt it. I got into the doctor's office as soon as I could. And as many of you have probably heard, "Oh, it's probably nothing. You're so young. The chances of it being anything serious are slim. You have nothing to worry about. You are so young." But I knew, because I had watched my mom go through it. I went in for the biopsies, and at this time, Terry was working and I was not. And Briella was my little shotgun rider. She was always with me. I think for the first 5 years of her life, I can remember her being babysat by somebody other than Terry, which isn't considered babysitting, twice. So we went to the biopsies, which we all know how fun that is. I was blessed with extremely, extremely dense breast tissue. So I'm laying against this table praying that this man does not push the needle too hard, because his hands are shaking trying to get the needle into the lump. I was also blessed with multiple calcium deposits in my breast. So we had to biopsy all of them. By the time I was done, it looked like somebody had drawn all over my breast with blue and purple and yellow markers. Shortly after that, I was at my counselor's office. I had Briella, and y'all, that baby scrunch. She was laying on my chest, and when you pick them up and they do the baby scrunch, oh, my heart squeezes just thinking about it. She was laying on my chest, and she had done her scrunch. I laid her on my chest. She was fast asleep. I was quietly talking with my counselor in his office, and I got a phone call from my doctor. And after all of the weeks of reassuring and there's nothing to worry about, and again, you are so young. All my PCP could say was, I'm sorry, it's cancer. I will let you know where we go from here. And I said, okay. And I got off the phone. And my counselor said, was that it? What did they say? And I said, they said I have cancer. And he looked at me and he stared at me. And then he made weird faces and kept looking at me. Well, I looked back at him. And he said, Amanda, you are internalizing. He said, I can see it on your face. He said, if I got that phone call, I would be laying on the ground, punching the ground and kicking the ground and crying and screaming. He said, you are sitting here calm as a cucumber. What are you doing? And I said, I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it was a possibility before. And once we found the lump, I knew it was definitely a possibility. And he said, okay, two things. He said, I want you to call Terry to come pick you up because I don't want you to drive yourself and Briella home. He said, but before you call him, he said, you will not leave until you have cried. And I was like, oh, Dante, come on. I don't need to cry. I'm okay. I just want to get going. What's next? What do we do next? What do I do now? And he said, nope. He said, I'm not giving in. He said, you are not leaving until you cry. And so I reached down really deep, and all I could get out was, I watched my mom go through this. I never wanted this for Briella. And the tears just started coming. They just started rolling hot and heavy on my face. And he said, okay. And he talked to me for a minute, and then he said, go ahead and call Terry. And I called Terry, and I said, I need you to come pick me up. Dante's telling me I'm not allowed to drive home. And when we got home, I let him know. Now, my husband is one of those big man with the best resting bitch face. He looks like if you even glance in his direction, he will tear you apart 99% of the time. He is so intimidating until he opens his mouth. And then he's just goof and softy and all the reasons that I love him. And he was kind of where I was. Okay, this is okay. We're going to get through this. What do we do now? Just think about the next step. What's the next step? What do we do now? So it was a little bit of a whirlwind of activity after that. But when they finally did figure everything out, they informed me that not only did I test positive for the BRCA1 gene, but I had stage 2 breast cancer. I had invasive ductal carcinoma, estrogen and progesterone positive, HER2 positive. I said, okay, what now? When it comes to something like that, that shakes your whole life, I knew it was a possibility. I knew it was a probability. I knew it was coming at some point. And it still struck me. It still made my heart stop when I felt that lump. No matter how prepared you think you are to get news like that, you're not. Because there's always that little bit of hope. There's always that little bit of maybe it's not. Maybe it's not cancer. Maybe I'm just imagining things. Maybe I'm being crazy. Maybe I'm overreacting. But let's face it, 99% of the time, a woman's intuition does not steer her wrong. Which sometimes is just terrible. It's a beautiful and terrible thing. A woman's intuition, a mother's intuition. It has helped me in so many different ways, but there are so often when I get that feeling and I'm like, I know it is, but I hope it's not. I know it is, but I wish it wasn't. And this was one of those times. Maybe I'll slide by. Maybe it won't happen to me. But it did. I started this podcast because when that news hit me, I had my husband, I had Briella. I didn't have anybody that I felt like I could talk to who understood what I was truly feeling, what I was truly going through. I had no idea where to turn to other than Google when I had questions. Is this normal? What does this mean? You get all these medical paperwork. You get all these medical terms thrown at you. I can barely speak English some days, let alone medical. There's words on there I didn't know could exist in the English language. But they do. And as important as they are very hard to deal with sometimes. I hope that this podcast reaches out to those women and men who have gone through this, who have had breast cancer or have breast cancer or know somebody who has breast cancer. I'm here for the women going through it, for the girls going through it, for the men going through it, for the moms going through it, for the women who have somebody close to them who's going through it, for the men who have someone close to them who's going through it. I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect by far. I can promise to all of my listeners that if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I will try like hell to get the answer. Or I might be able to point you in the direction to get the answer. I can promise you that I'm here for you. I can promise you that when you're up in the middle of the night with a little one and you're still sore from surgery or treatment or pain or depression or frustration, and you feel alone, I'm here. I have also started a Facebook. It is called Worn But Wild Podcast. And it is for all the worn people out there who hear this podcast. If you need to get a hold of me, if you need someone who will hear you, if you just need to tell your story, I am here to hear it. I am here to listen. If I can't do anything else, I can help you get it off your chest. There is very, very, very little that you could tell me that would surprise me or offend me. We're going to talk about a lot of crazy things, a lot of raw things. This podcast is completely unscripted. I go where God and my heart take me during these conversations. If there is a topic that anybody would like me to speak about, please feel free to message me on the Facebook for the podcast. Or if you just want to say hey, feel free to message me. And we have a lot of great things to come. A lot of great things to come. There is no stone that we are going to leave unturned. We will talk about all the craziness. We are going to talk about motherhood, fatherhood if needed. We're going to talk about being a spouse. We're going to talk about going through cancer. We're going to talk about what happens when you don't have cancer anymore. We're going to talk about what happens when everybody who initially shaved their head in solidarity or said they would be there for you always isn't there. We're going to talk about those deep, gooey feelings of sex after cancer. I am here for all of you. Please, please reach out if you need anything. As it stands right now, I will be hoping to put out another episode shortly. I know this one can be kind of slow because it's the beginning and it's all the backstory. We will pick up soon. It will be great. For now, I will leave you with a scripture for the untamable spirit. 2 Timothy 4:7. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Stay wild. Thank you.